Last week, we saw the premier global investment event of the year, the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, sometimes referred to as the Super Bowl of healthcare conferences. And joining me today to discuss the conference and much, much more is Jeremy Skillington, CEO of Poolbeg Pharma. Jeremy, welcome.
Hello.
So you and your team were in San Francisco last week. What were the key takeaways from the conference?
Yeah, you're dead right. The Super Bowl of healthcare conferences. I've been going to this conference now for many years. It kicks off the year very well, and you kind of read the temperature of the industry or the mood of the pharma companies, the investors. And I gotta say, glorious week of sunshine, which is always welcome in San Francisco, but certainly a very much of an upbeat week. I think, the industry has been maybe in the doldrums for the last several years, where we're definitely kind of turned a corner. I think there's a lot of optimism right now. I think that goes to show that the XBI index, this is the biotech index in the US on Nasdaq, is now trading at over $124, where it was far less than 100, in the last several years. So definitely kind of an optimism. The markets are moving, and again, I think pharma are kind of recognizing they've got a patent cliff coming. So they're starting to be very active in deals. Now, interestingly, at JP Morgan, they normally kind of announce deals on the Monday morning, this is what we've done. A little bit quieter this year, but interestingly, there was I won't say it was a bit of a leak, but Lilly have acquired a company, Ventyx, for an NLRP3 inflammasome inhibitors in the inflammation space for 1.2 billion. That was kind of announced before the conference really kicked off. And then there was rumors, I guess nothing confirmed, that Merck is acquiring another company, Revolution, for 32 billion, and that's kind of still not completed, but a lot of activity in the space. And we had numerous meetings in San Francisco last week with our pharma partners. And what I thought was interesting this year was, we were lining up meetings, and some of them were saying, listen, our calendars are completely blocked. So we had some calls with pharma potential partners last week, and then we have other calls with potential partners this week, just to kind of, as I say, expand. So it's like they're very busy, very active, talking to a lot of companies, and as I say, they need to replenish their pipelines because of this pending patent cliff. So I think there's a lot of activity, and obviously kind of Poolbeg is in the I won't say the firing line. We're kind of in the mix for some of these deals, because they know where we are right now with our clinical trials that are pending. As I say, the POD 001 and in cytokine release syndrome. There's a lot of interest in that, particularly from these as a T cell engaging, these cancer immunotherapy companies. So again, a lot of discussions on that. I think one other takeaway that was lots of discussions in San Francisco was the rise of biotech in China, and in particular the deals that pharma are doing with biotech companies that are based in China, but where their drugs or molecules were originated in China. So the innovation is there. So they're looking at a lot of I guess deals coming out of there with some of these very interesting and innovative programs and products. So a lot of activity, and of course, front and center in this is kind of like oncology is always, of interest to pharma companies. So happily, Poolbeg is in there, looking at metabolic diseases as well. We're in there. So lots of activity, a lot of discussion. You can tell my voice is, hanging in there. Again, with lots of discussions last week, lots of presentations. So a fantastic week, and I said the mood is certainly upbeat this early in the year.
Well, that sounds like you've had a very busy week. Did investors be itching to know where the cancer immunotherapy field was that featured much in the conference?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's everywhere, because it is the future of of healthcare, of cancer healthcare. And I think what was interesting, our collaborators, where Johnson and Johnson are providing their drug teclistamab for us to run our clinical trials, the topical trial. They actually announced some clinical data at the end, saying that there's benefits for going earlier into the patients, into the disease diagnosis. And again, that's good data there. So it seems like teclistamab will be will be provided with broader use, once they kind of file all the necessary regulatory filings. But as we know, the challenge with teclistamab is that CRS, or cytokine release syndrome, is an issue with that. So we're hoping to help J&J in that regard, getting it into the broader markets, getting it into the local hospitals that we've already said. So very interested to see that. So again, lots of good positive feedback, from the various companies. Knowing that our drug can be applied to all of the T cell engagers, bispecific antibodies, trispecifics, CAR Ts, and indeed in vivo CAR Ts. So they all have a CRS issue. So I think we're in a pretty good place when it comes to once we have clinical data in hand, and that's always the laying the groundwork, creating the competitive tension. And once we have the clinical data in hand, then I think we'll be off to the races, as it were. So again, laid a lot of groundwork this week, and I think POB001 is a very good strategic fit for all of these, as I say, cancer immunotherapy companies.
Interesting to hear. And I suppose, I mean, two of the major subjects in the world at the moment, one of them's AI, the other one's is GLP-1. Is
Yeah.
that still a dominant theme across healthcare? I mean, how did this play out?
It is actually, it's quite interesting because was it just before the start of the year or the end of last year, Novo Nordisk had gotten formal approval to launch their Wegovy pill. This is the oral GLP-1 that they have. And interestingly, there was billboards all over San Francisco where the pill has arrived was the tagline, and showing the Wegovy. So certainly GLP-1 is of interest to everybody. The health benefits are quite impressive and quite astounding, to be frank. It's not just weight loss, it's not just diabetes, but there's other benefits such as cardiovascular disease. So it's a very prominent drug right now, the GLP-1 agonist. And as I say, this transition or moving from injectables to oral is what the industry wants, and certainly is what the patients wants. So again, as I say, we had some discussions around GLP-1 as well. Again, our trial, proof of concept trial, getting that started and having, as I say, data later this year. So again, laying the groundwork for potential partnering around that. So again, very exciting space to be in, both cancer immunotherapy and, as I say, metabolic diseases, or indeed the GLP-1 receptor agonists.
Now, mentioned at the start there wasn't a sort of headline announcement deal announced at the conference, but there was a few other things mixed in there. I mean, was there a noticeable change in appetite for deals and partnerships there?
I think without question. I think, and as I say, the last several years we've been there, the mood was a bit, a bit glummer, if that's the right word. But as I say, what the pharma companies do with their BD teams is they kind of rent out these kind of like floors or several floors of hotels and just have back-to-back meetings with like a lot of pharma, biotech companies in particular. And as I say, you saw them very busy, very active, very prominent. And as I say, we were able to kind of slot ourselves in there, getting some lunchtime meetings just to fit in meetings with Poolbeg. So again, I think the BD teams have their mandates right now. I mentioned earlier on about the patent cliffs are coming, so their mandate is to get out there, get deals done. There's lots of opportunity, out there that will strategic fits with their pipeline. So as I say, there was a lot of discussions going on, and this conference is perfect. I always kind of say that the start of the year, everyone has kind of get through the holidays, the Christmas time, and then the start of the year is JP Morgan and getting off on the right foot. So there's a lot of as I say, focus on making executing excellent partnering discussions at JP Morgan. So again, as I say, we were happy with our discussions, with our outcomes. We have a lot of follow-ups to do, and as I mentioned, some further calls later this week with companies that had essentially their dance card or meeting card full, and now we'll speak with them again, talking about POB001, our plan. So a lot of buzz, a lot of activity. Investors are, as I say, investing again. Companies are exiting through acquisitions. As I mentioned earlier on, the biotech index, the public markets are increasing. So it seems like the wheels are turning again. Money's flowing in, money's flowing out. So it's a perfect time. And as I say, from a Poolbeg standpoint, having clinical data, this year, with both our programs, I think the timing is perfect for us, that we have that uptick in interest and uptick in optimism. And as I mentioned, the clear need that pharma has for bringing in innovative programs, such as POB001, as we talked about.
Yes, I suppose from the industry perspective, having such a major conference right at the start of the year, I suppose that shapes what you're going to be doing to a certain extent, or does that actually influence what your strategy is going to be going forward into 2026?
Yeah, look, I think I mentioned, about timing, and timing is everything in this business industry, particularly when it comes to partnering. And or front and center, slide one, we'll have clinical data this year, and that grabs people's attention because that moves the needle when it comes to being able to bring programs in. I've mentioned in the past that pharma likes to get that early human clinical data, and then they'll take over the program and move it forward. And as I mentioned, with these bispecific antibodies as an example. Happily, POB001 can be paired or partnered with any of the bispecific antibodies. And I think that the penny, is dropping with regard to getting these drugs into community hospitals, getting it into, rapidly into as many patients as possible. So they're seeing what POB001 can do. And I say timing is perfect because with the topical trial and, that's pushing forward on that. And once we have that data in hand, that's where we're going to create that competitive tension with the various companies and again, strike up a deal to take that forward. And again, some interesting discussions with pharma companies. We have the capabilities and the team to bring it forward ourselves into programs in partnership with pharma. They will kind of fund it, through deal structures, for example. So there was a lot of nodding in the room, when we brought up that option as well. And then, as I say, sometimes pharma will just take over the program themselves. So lots of optionality there. But as I say, just once we have data in hand, once we have positive data in hand, then I think it's exciting time certainly for Poolbeg to get a transaction done and move forward. So timing wise, it really has lined up nicely. So looking forward to executing on that.
Well, it sounds like you certainly had a very strong start to the year. You were busy all week. Do you think it's going to take you a week to get over the jet lag, or does it take you?
Sleep hasn't been great the last few nights,
I can
when
imagine. I
you
can
kind of
imagine.
wake up at 2 in the morning thinking, oh, right, yeah, there's more time, but feeling a little tired, but energized. I think
I can
last
imagine. I
kind
can
of
imagine.
as the
Well, it's a
spring,
great start to the year. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeremy. I know how busy you are, so thank you for your time.
appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.